Hello, I'm Rod Pinkston and welcome to another episode of JAGER PRO. Our most often asked questions are about euthanizing pigs in a trap. So I'll cover this topic in a very professional and scientific manner. I'll also remove another sounder from this property using the most efficient process and products while teaching the art and science of integrated wild pig control. The American Veterinary Medical Association, known as the AVMA, creates the scientific guidelines for humane euthanasia. These techniques induce a rapid and painless death. The AVMA lists a bullet to the brain as a humane method. A properly placed gunshot causes immediate insensibility and a humane death. Under trapping conditions, a gunshot is the only practical method of euthanasia. Research protocols for all JAGER PRO projects require feral pigs to be euthanized inside the trap enclosure within 1 hour of capture. This practice prevents distress vocalizations to any other sounders on the property, which eliminates method education about the mine trapping process. Most captures occur at night, and a 1 hour protocol reduces stress to animals by decreasing the time they are left inside the trap. A nocturnal routine also reduces physical damage to animals and equipment, as feral pigs tend to stand still when blinded by a 1200 lumen light at night. Feral pigs attempt much more violent escapes during daylight hours. Capture protocols require feral pigs to be euthanized inside the trap with a single bullet to the brain from a .22 caliber suppressed rifle using 45 grain subsonic bullets, traveling at 970 feet per second. The bore is triple B from clay pit, and this is his skull. The .22 caliber bullet enters above the left eye and lodges in the spinal cord. Free-range protocols require 308 caliber suppressed rifles, using 178 grain supersonic bullets, traveling at 2600 feet per second. Both stationary and moving targets are euthanized with a single bullet to the brain or their heart and lung vitals. The boar is split ear from mud puddle, and this is his skull. The .308 caliber bullet enters beside the right eye and absolutely destroys the opposite side of the cranium. Split ear and triple B were both killed the same night and are the same size. I kept their skulls to show the cranial cavity damage and demonstrate how both bullets produce an immediate and humane euthanization. However, a .22 caliber bullet only costs 10 cents, while each .308 bullet costs $1.50. Euthanizing a sounder of 14 only costs $1.40 when shooting a .22, but would cost $21 when shooting a .308. Along with pass-through bullet damage to panels, gates, control boxes, and feeder legs. This photo is a cross-section from a skull. It is important to recognize the exact location of a feral pig's brain, especially when using a .22 caliber bullet. Proper bullet placement is absolutely necessary to achieve a humane result. There are multiple possible bullet angles, so let's demonstrate them individually. When the jaw is horizontal to the ground, the perfect frontal impact site is in the center of the forehead above the eye sockets. The bullet should always be directed toward the spinal canal during a frontal shot. The mistake often made during frontal shots is aiming between the eyes, especially when the jaw or snout is angled down. Bullet placement between the eyes at this angle only penetrates the sinus cavity, which is very painful and not at all lethal. When the snout is angled down at the ground, draw a line from the right ear to the left eye and the left ear to the right eye. The perfect frontal impact site is in the center of the forehead, 2 or 3 inches above the eye sockets. Remember, the bullet should always be directed during the spinal canal during a frontal shot. The perfect quartering 2 impact site is slightly above the eye socket to center the cranial cavity. The bullet should always be directed toward the brain center during a quartering 2 shot. The perfect profile or temporal impact site is slightly above the eye socket and below the ear to center the cranial cavity. The bullet should always be directed toward the brain center during a temporal shot. The perfect quartering away impact site is behind the ear, aiming towards the opposite eye to center the cranial cavity. The bullet should always be directed toward the brain center during a quartering away shot. Scientifically, a gunshot destroys the brain, which produces an instant loss of consciousness and immediate animal collapse. However, brain electrical activity often continues for another 30 seconds, producing exaggerated muscle activity and limb movement. It is important to recognize these involuntary movements are normal and not an indicator of distress, pain, or suffering, as death is rapid and painless. Remember, humane euthanasia standards are based on scientific guidelines by the AVMA, not our human emotion. As trained and certified hog control operators, we have a professional responsibility to both the animals and our industry to induce a rapid and painless death. Understanding feral pig anatomy while selecting the most efficient process and products to humanely euthanize all age classes in the shortest time possible is absolutely necessary for a successful, integrated wild pig control program. To view the entire 30-minute episode, please tune in to RFD-TV. Our weekly show airs Tuesday nights at 9:30 p.m. Eastern, 8:30 p.m. Central, Channel 231 on Dish Network and Channel 345 on DirecTV.